Have you got the finish? Boy, has he got the finish. But our best 11 has him in it. He has to start in the biggest and best games.
Just get the results, and if you can do a professional job away from home and get 3 goals, I'm buzzing.
You cannot argue. I stuck it in our group as soon as they could.
Records still intact.
Yeah. If we don't take that next step up in the next season too, Cole Palmer should still have the same question as to why are we not in the title race.
It's Antonio Conte, it's Kevin De Bruyne. It just feels like there's stories everywhere. Hello and welcome to Inside Chelsea, the show for Chelsea fans and by Chelsea fans. I'm Olivia Buzaglo and I'm joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy and broadcaster and lifelong Chelsea fan Matisse. Guys, it's 3 wins in a row. These shows are so much better when we win, aren't they? Just look at us with all these big smiles on our faces. It's 3 wins in a row, 4 out of 5 under Liam Rosenior. And actually, that Crystal Palace game, Jace, was probably the most confident we've looked in games under him so far, would you say?
Over the 90 minutes, yeah, come away disappointed with not to have a clean sheet. We'll talk about that in a second. Look, we took chances, ruthless in front of goal when we get those chances. But I think we've been guilty of not that this season over various different games. This probably was a good time to play Palace. And I felt, and I think I said last week, this is a game we have to go there and win. Because I've seen Chelsea performances away at Crystal Palace where we've been a little bit tepid and it's not been a plain sailing. They've got their own problems. Guehi's gone. Glasner's announced his leaving. Pateta wants out. You know, it's a football club at the moment that has got its own issues. We have to rock up, make sure we put in a professional performance, which we absolutely did. Disappointing, though, at the end that we didn't really control the game. We had a firm grip, down to 10. He made 1 or 2 substitutions that he wanted to control the game. And I was annoyed, harshly, but I always want... You can't get a perfect performance, Liv, but that, I felt, was at that moment, 10 to go, just kill the game. I wasn't concerned about scoring the 4th. That's fine, the game's won. Don't concede. And unfortunately, just a little blot on it, but overall, very, very happy.
Yeah. It's very rare because this season this happened a lot where Chelsea have taken the lead, but they've let the game slip, whether it be Sunderland, whether it be Brighton, whether it be Atalanta away. Brentford, yeah. So it was nice to see Chelsea kind of put their foot on the pedal in that second half and say, right, we are leading, but we're actually going to finish this game off. We're going to get that second goal. We're going to be ruthless, clinical, and be professional. And that's what we wanted from this game. You can see the way that the Premier League's been shaping up this season, the points gap in that part of the table that we're in. Everybody's dropping points, everybody's losing games to teams you wouldn't expect. Teams like Wolves and Leeds are really competitive and showing fight. Just get the results. And if you can do a professional job away from home and get 3 goals, I'm buzzing.
It is all about results at the end of the day. And, you know, everyone can moan that the Brentford performance wasn't great and that the Paphos performance wasn't great. But realistically, what we're looking at now, like I said, is 4 wins out of 5 against Liam Rosenior. So, and it was the first time after the game that the away fans were shouting his name. They were Liam, which is nice to see. But it just shows that actually... Sometimes the football doesn't actually matter. If you're a new manager coming in, it's all about results. And that's exactly what he's done so far.
Football will never change, Liv. It's all about results.
Yeah.
And, you know, you want... Our job is to dissect and look deeper into the performance and was it perfect? What bits can we improve and what bits do we really like? And we've seen changes there. Look, we've scored a lot of goals since Liam's come in. I know the Charlton game away slightly distorts it, but Matisse made the point there. We saw Cardiff away, we saw Lincoln away in those games, where we completely didn't dominate, completely should have had... That sort of scoreline should be something that we're accustomed to. Yeah. So, look, all things considered, it's just the Arsenal game, got them in a couple of weeks. Let's move on now to Napoli. Let's move on to West Ham, because this right now, it feels like we're in a good place. Yeah. Right? And it wasn't that long ago where it didn't feel like that.
Yeah. Let's talk about one of the main positives, probably the main positive from the game, and that is Estevao. Yeah. Probably the brightest young talent in the Premier League, one of the brightest young talents in world football right now. And Jace, that goal just summed up everything brilliant about him, didn't it? Because I was watching it going, he's going away from goal, he's going away from goal. Mitchell's chasing him, but just composure, calm, didn't let him get there. It was an unbelievable finish.
He had so much to do. I know he's got in behind them, and from their point of view, how's that happen? But once he got in behind Mitchell, he stayed in front. And good strikers always put you in a position where you can't get the ball. And on his left foot, he actually plays it in front of Mitchell. While he's doing that, he's still travelling with the ball. Every touch was perfect. Mitchell's got 2 choices. Either he lets him go or he brings him down. Bring him down, it's a red card. Mitchell knew that. Estevão was in complete control. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to finish it. And he opened the goal up, and it's on his left foot. Have you got the finish? Boy, has he got the finish. It was he made that look simple. I promise you, from that position we picked up in our own half, It was not simple. He made it look simple. The boy is an outrageous talent.
Yeah.
He really is so composed.
Special, isn't he?
I used to play left back at Sunday League level, so I can speak from a really high place here. All you're doing in that moment, if you're Mitchell, you're just trying to just keep the pressure on. Yeah. You're literally just hoping that your presence and your kind of...
You couldn't do any more, Mitchell.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
just you being there and him knowing that you're there is going to put him off.
Because sometimes it does, doesn't it? Sometimes it does do that.
How many times do you see a player running in behind, they'll take a heavy touch? Yeah. Or, like you said, they'll run away from goal and then they'll sky it or they'll mess up the angle. But his touches, like you said, were so perfect, just constantly, little touch, little touch. And then the finish is just emphatic. And it's a special talent that can do things like that, and he's definitely a special talent. I was at the Paphos game when he came on, he's lifting the crowd up, he's causing problems, he's getting everybody up off their feet. And in this game as well, I was, prior to that moment, hoping that we'd get the ball over to him more, because I don't think we was getting him the ball enough. And once you get him on the ball, his decision-making, his maturity, his selflessness in terms of he will create for others, but he will take responsibility and take shots, and he forced the keeper into another save as well. He's got a really good balance between chance creation and shooting. He's a breath of fresh air, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the big games, has to start now.
Yeah, so one thing we maybe didn't see under Enzo Maresca, him start as much as we would have liked. He has contributed more goals and assists than any other teenager in the Premier League this season. He's got 8. And also, bit of trivia, he's the second youngest Chelsea player to score an assist in a Premier League match, and the youngest since 1993.
Yeah, look, you want to protect him. He's come from a different country, completely different culture, completely different style of football. And sometimes it takes players, doesn't matter whether you come from Europe or South America, to adjust. No, this boy hasn't adjusted. He hasn't taken time. He don't need time. Yep. Every game he's played, he has an effect on the game. Even I don't think I've seen someone give Jurgen Timber a tougher evening's work than what he had against Estevão on that a couple of weeks ago on Wednesday when we played him in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Has to start. The problem that we've got, and it's a problem that other managers have had, you solve the right-hand side, but you create a problem on the left. Now, Pedro Neto, for me, is better on the right.
Yeah.
But you can't put Estevão out there. Maybe he might try that, I don't know. But if you have Estevão on the right, then you have a choice of Garnacho, Gittins or Pedro Neto.
It's got to be Pedro Neto.
But I felt Pedro Neto looked a little bit tentative out there. I felt that left-hand side has not been completely solved yet.
I mean, I do agree with you, but I mean, it's a situation that Liam's going to have to come up with a solution for, because the only answer on the right-hand side right now is Estevão.
Yeah, I think we've seen him play in the 10 a little bit. There was a game a few weeks ago where he did play on the left. But I think as much as we wanted to bed him in, and I know Maresca was trying to do that, and I was a little bit frustrated that we weren't playing in more matches, because I don't think we have the quality in attack out wide to compensate for him being on that bench and coming on for the last 20 minutes, half an hour. We need to win games. We need results. And we're a better football team when he's on the pitch from the start. And you can see we're much more dangerous, and opposition teams can see that we're much more unpredictable, and he has a lot more variety to his game. So for me, as long as he's out on that pitch, that's the first thing, but ideally off that right, because I think his ability to kind of separate himself from the rest of the pitch and just say, I'm going to go 1v1 in isolation versus this player. I'm going to beat my man. I'm also going to take shots off my right foot. I'm going to cut in on my left. He's got that really good unpredictability. I just want to see him in his best position. And I don't think Neto is good enough to compensate for Estevao's game.
I would like to see, however, 10 minutes for half-time in a game, just to see him swap.
Yeah.
You know, on 35... Just give both fullbacks something slightly different to think about. Only if the game is not going. If the game's going to plan, obviously, you wouldn't do that. But we might find ourselves a situation over the next 2, 3, 4 games where actually you can afford just to put Pedro Neto out on that right. And Estevão, wherever he looks like he can play, he looks like he'll take it naturally anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying start there, but I wouldn't mind seeing just a swap over with 10 to go up for half time.
But you know what as well? When he brought Gittins on, he played Gittins on the right against Charlton. And he's brought Gittins on for Estevão in this game and played him on the right. So I think there's something developing here where he's going to go Garnacho and Neto off the left and Gittins and Estevão on the right. And maybe that's just speeding up the thinking process for a lot of these players to know that the ball-to-feet wingers and the creative, kind of more dribbling, heavy-touch wingers are on the right, and your runners off the ball movement, crashing the box, you know, getting goals hopefully are on the left. And maybe just in terms of that split-second Premier League pace, you know what you're doing on the left in terms of long passes, in behind, runs, timing, beat the offside trap, and on the right we're going short and we're going creative. So maybe that's the dynamic that he's starting to try and create.
We obviously, under Maresca, like Matisse was saying, we perhaps didn't see as much of Estevão as we would have liked as Chelsea fans. From what we've seen under Liam, I know it's only been 5 games and actually he's been ill for a couple of them, Estevão, but do you think based off of what we've seen, is that we are going to see Estevão a little bit more than we perhaps did under Maresca.
Yeah, without knowing all the facts, it did feel a little bit like Maresca over-protected Estevão. And I understand that because of the points I've made. He's come from a different country, he's still incredibly young, he's only 18 years of age. And I get that. But the genie's out the bottle. If he's good enough, you're old enough. And you want your best players. And I don't think there's any worry about burnout for this season at all. He's been used sparingly. Yeah. But our best 11 has him in it. He has to start in the biggest and best games.
So does that mean starting against Napoli on Wednesday?
Yeah, start against Napoli on Wednesday.
Because they have to win that as well, Napoli.
Yes, listen, there's a lot. They're all big games at this stage of the season now, right? Still got to go to Arsenal in the second leg of that semi-final.
But
right?
he starts that.
Play him in that.
I start him in all the games
play him
until Hull City.
Would you start him against West Ham on the weekend?
I start him in all the games up until Hull City at the KC Stadium.
But do you think realistically he will start him? So he started him obviously against Palace.
Yeah.
Then does he start him against Napoli, West Ham and Arsenal? Because I maybe think he starts him against Napoli and starts him against Arsenal, maybe gives Garnacho or Gittins a go.
Maybe. It's a home game.
I keep getting Garnacho and Gittins.
You're combining the names, but it's quicker.
Garnacho, I think I just said.
You found a quicker way to do it.
But maybe giving Garnacho or Gittins a go against West Ham.
I just don't think we can afford to not start him in games we have to win. And we have to beat West Ham. And we have to put a run together in the Premier League. And we already know at home against a low block, things get very difficult at Stamford Bridge. The fixture list and the quality or the position of the team is kind of becoming irrelevant. We are more likely to drop points at home to Paphos than at home to Barcelona. And that is the facts of the matter.
That actually sums us up as a football club,
that is us, you know? So we need to play him. And look, I don't want to be nostalgic, but Hazard, you know, we played him week in, week out, game in, game out, two times a week, 3 weeks in a row. That is what top players have to do. And I get he's 18, but Maresca has maybe, looked after him in that first 6 months, and in that second 6 months, go for it.
Yeah.
I think there will be rotation, but the problem you've got now, every game becomes a big game. Napoli's huge. And then you think about what we've done in the league so far. Somehow we're muscling in around that top four still. Man United beat Arsenal, right? So they went above us. West Ham's massive. And then you've got the second leg against Arsenal. That's another huge game.
Then you've got Wolves again.
They're all... And I think we might see a bit of rotation. If it is, it wouldn't surprise me if it's West Ham.
Yeah. We want to see as much of Estevão as we possibly can. He was definitely the bright spark in that game against Crystal Palace, as he has been so often this season. Let's get on to the bit that's not so pleasing then. You mentioned it at the top, Jace. Chelsea's management of the game. 3-0 up, cruising, Palace down to 10 men. Just a little bit disappointed. Explain to me why you're so disappointed about those last 10 minutes and what actually happened.
Well, we saw Robert Sanchez's reaction to the goal, right? Goalkeepers and defenders pride themselves on clean sheets. That's your bread and butter. And it came from a long ball again. We historically have struggled this season with that type of ball. Didn't deal with it particularly well. There was slightly a bit of good fortune. It comes off one of the players' face. He doesn't know much about it. But I was so concerned about keeping a clean sheet because it's a bit of a statement again, a clean sheet. You talk about teams now, winning 1-0. One goal should be enough to win your game, all right? I'm not that silly to know that there will be chances forgiven. But the fact they've gone down to 10 men, the fact we got so much control of the game was dead as a contest. And we let them back into it a little bit and we saw 9 minutes come up on the board. And you're like, oh, gosh, I felt a little bit, and I didn't want to feel it. Look, I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
I really am.
But it is frustrating because it could have been 3 clean sheets in a row, which would have been good, especially because this team, I thought we'd concede against Crystal Palace. I had Chelsea to win, but I did think we would concede. Yeah. And it did end up happening like that. But we have had issues defensively this season. So to not come away with a clean sheet there, that's why we're all a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, I felt for Sanchez because I feel like, again, he made some big saves in this game. He's had great form this season. And you could see how angry and frustrated he was when we conceded that goal. It's difficult because Chelsea right now, a 3-1 win, it isn't a big thing for us to concede, I don't feel, just purely because part and parcel, our set-piece defending has to improve. Yeah. That's it. If we don't concede that goal and he brings these defenders on, and we shore up the game and finish it. No one complains. But the fact that we continue to keep conceding from these set pieces and these long throws. There was a long throw earlier in the game. Reece James flicked on, and we looked like we might concede from that as well. We conceded the set piece goal against Arsenal. You can go back to Brentford. You go back to Newcastle. The crosses come in. Whenever there's wide situations and things come into the box, we have a problem. And again, I keep saying it. I just want to see us clear that box out. Just clear that box out. It's too claustrophobic. There's too many people in there. There's no space. Sanchez this season been great at coming and collecting crosses. He's not even been, punching them as much. He's been collecting them, and then he wants to do the fast throw, and obviously then he got caught out in this game in that moment.
I understand, Rob. I understand that you want to, start a counter-attack in transition, but please stop going so close to the edge of the box. He did. He got nudged out. Luckily, he got nudged out. But he did it against Villa, didn't he? Where they got a free kick, and it's like, right, just calm yourself.
But can we try and get creative with the set-piece defending and leave a few bodies more up front, and therefore they'll leave more bodies in the defence, and just trust ourselves to defend 1v1 and let Sanchez have space to come and collect, and I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that under Enzo Maresca, didn't we? We saw that, and it actually worked.
Yeah, it worked.
So do you think that Liam may look at that and go, well, that is a way of dealing with it? I mean, I watched the Arsenal, I suppose we all watched it, we watched the Arsenal-Man United game, and there's that one shot of, I reckon there must be about at least 16 players, like Arsenal, Man United, or like at least 12 players, all crowded round the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But if you
it's like an underground tube.
How are you meant to?
When you get on, there's bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't move.
You can't move.
It is a tactic. And what that does, if you leave 3 up top, what that then does, it gives you an attacking opportunity if Sanchez gathers the ball and bowls it out. He wants to do that, and I feel that's something that, as a club, we haven't done enough, even under the years of Petr Cech. Big Pete used to come, and I think, bowl the ball out, because they're out of shape. I would like to think that he's looking at that, because Arsenal, we will see this, they function under chaos. They create the chaos, and they want more of it. Yeah. The more bodies, the more chaotic it is in there. And then balls bounce, come off your face. It could happen anything. Clear the box. Big Rob is, like you said, he's a big boy, can come and control that ball that comes to the box. And then once he gathers that ball, it puts a bit of doubt in their mind. When I played, if you leave 3 up top, you have to leave 4 at the back, right?
You have to.
Nowadays, teams take risks. They leave 3v3. Yeah. But if you bowl that ball out, you've got 4v3 situation in your favour. So I'd like to think that he looks at it and considers doing it.
Yeah. Do you think one of the reasons, Matisse, for this drop-off sort of in the last 10 minutes was the subs that Liam made? But also, when you look at the subs Liam made, especially taking off Reece James, João Pedro and Moises Caicedo, who was walking on thin ice a little bit on a yellow card. Can you understand making especially those subs, or did you think there was maybe one defensive sub too many?
Well, we've got an issue because Lavia Nasigo is injured. And Buonanotti's gone back to Brighton, therefore gone on loan to Leeds. And Palmer's injured. So we effectively don't have any depth in midfield right now. That's why there was interest, how strong, I don't know, in Douglas Luiz. Because we need someone that can come in and be an extra body. Right now, we're playing with 3 midfielders in central. We've got Enzo, Caicedo and Santos, which I think there was a really nice balance in the first half. Kept possession really well. There's a nice progressive play in there. People will pass the ball forward, etc. But then when you come to want to control a game, and we should have tried to do that with up against 10 men, and Caicedo's on the yellow, you don't want him to get a second. You don't really have any options to go in there apart from putting the Hattos or the Gustos and starting to move them into midfield, which is what we ended up doing. So I don't want to see us doing that going forward, but I think the injuries and the lack of options depth-wise has probably played a part in that. And it's just one of those things that he'll learn from that, but also I think his hands were a little bit tied with what was on the bench. He brought on Gittins, he brought on Delap, with Delap, you're going to have to play that ball over the top. We were speaking about it before. The hold-up plays better with João Pedro. Pedro, the kind of back and forth that he had with Estevao for his own goal, the left foot strike, his hold-up plays better. He'll take the pressure off the team. Delap, you got to hit the ball over the top, hit it over the top. We couldn't do it.
Just a quick word on those subs. Did you understand why Liam?
Yeah, and I think at that particular point of the game, it was the subs were the right thing to do. I think Reece actually come inside a little bit.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And then we had Hato at left back. Cucurella went high wide where João Pedro Neto came off. Gusto come at right back. There were a little bit of change there, but largely the personnel that we had should be able to have coped. And I just felt that those subs didn't quite have the impact. The ball over the top to Delap. That's the ball. He loves that, and he's a willing runner, especially when they play 3 at the back. The space is always in behind the wing back.
Yeah.
Put balls in there, turn them around. He's a willing runner in there. I just felt we lost a little bit of the grip of the game, but Look, we are really nitpicking here.
Yeah.
This is. We want a perfect performance, and it's impossible to have a 90-minute dominant game in the Premier League. It just doesn't happen. Even down 10 men, just disappointed to concede. But
it was close to that. I mean, obviously, if we're sat here 3-0, we're going, it's probably close to a perfect performance under Liam, especially away at a team like Palace. Yeah. Obviously, Liam hasn't been in for very long, so it's obviously difficult to sometimes see what he's trying to change. It's not like Manchester United and Michael Carrick, where he's changed the formation. He's brought players in that maybe were out of favour under. And this is largely the same formation with the same players. He obviously mentioned Andre Santos slotting into defence. I didn't actually notice this, but he said it's like a semi-4, semi-5 at the back with Andre in between. I'm lucky with Andre because he's done it for me before against Marseille and PSG, but the other players have never played that shape before. The front three were outstanding in terms of the angles that they're pressed. The beauty of having Andre there is it allowed Moy to stay in the middle of the pitch. Matisse, did you notice him doing that?
I noticed it when he had this really important interception that he made. The ball came into the box and he gets a toe to it. It's going across the face of the box, really difficult ball to defend, and he's the one that's in there. And I'm thinking, OK, you're the deepest midfielder maybe in this moment. But with Santos, he's really multifaceted. And I was saying that, when he came in the summer, and I was so excited about him coming in because I know that he can play in a multitude of different positions in midfield. At Strasbourg, he showed his goal scoring side, he showed his box crashing ability side, his engine, but he's also able to play in the six. And that's what he did in his first pre-season at Chelsea. I think we played some games in pre-season. He was sitting in that six, kind of keeping it ticking, being press resistant, getting off the back four. So he's really, really versatile and he's a really intelligent player. So the fact that you can trust him to go and do that role in his first season in the Premier, he's still really young. Probably might even make the Brazil national team if he keeps playing, which he probably will with Palmer's injury issues and the fact that we don't have the depth. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So, and I do want Caicedo higher up because I think Caicedo sometimes, when he's defending, going towards goal and he's running after someone, he doesn't always get that timing perfect on the tackle like maybe a Kante would. So if he can help in the counter press and he can be a box-to-box midfielder and Santos can be that Lavia almost, more deeper, then I think we've got a good balance there.
Picked up a cheap yellow towards the end. It's another thing, yeah, just picked up a cheap yellow for a non-footballing reason, which, come on, we need to mature, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
Moyes has picked up another yellow. The Wharton, he's done his job, Moyes. He's going backwards. He's passing the ball back out to Mitchell, I think it was. He can't win every ball, and I think there's just a little bit of one of them. I just want to say to him, if you're looking to play a forward pass, there's more urgency and necessity to stop that pass. But he's going backwards. But just nitpicking.
I did think that what happened to Adam Wharton could have happened.
Yeah, Moyes. Yeah. Well, they're both. I think there was a bit of frustration attached to the Wharton challenge actually, and Moyes didn't need to be frustrated because the game was over.
Yeah. Is there any other differences you feel like you've noticed between, or do you think it's largely very similar?
Yeah.
Sort of inverting fullbacks and.
I think he's inverted them for sure in previous games. We saw Hato against Charlton really, really high in that twin 10 position.
Gusto's
done it.
Against Paf.
Yeah. So I don't want to read too much into it in terms of wholesale changes. I think he's going to keep making small tweaks as the season goes on because he's got 2 games a week. He's got training in between that and recovery, but then he's got to do opposition tactics. There's just not a lot of time to make massive changes to the philosophy, the system and the way we play. And I think he knows it's a results-based game right now. We're in a crucial part of the season, like you said. We're vying for multiple competitions. You need to get results. So it's easier to almost cater to the players and what they've already been working on and make subtle tweaks than to go and make massive changes. And he said this when he came in about, Pender's playing in the middle of the back three and playing out. He's not going to ask Sanchez to do that on day one. So I think he's managing it well because he needs to get results.
There's very little time to work on this as well because every game he's had, there's been another game 3 days' time. And he's had midweek, weekend, midweek, and that doesn't stop now until we get into February. So it's very difficult for him to implement exactly. If there are going to be big changes, it's hard. I think he's largely stuck to what we've seen before, but maybe the inverted fullback not quite as obvious as it has been in previous weeks under Maresco.
Yeah, do you think he's starting to win fans over?
Well, as long as if you keep winning.
Yeah.
We're quite a simple bunch of fans, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
We're quite simple. Give us victories, give us goals, give us clean sheets, and we'll be happy. But look, he's come into a very, very intense situation. Games thick and fast. First 4 games, 4 different competitions.
Yeah.
Right?
It's never happened.
He's navigated his way so far pretty well. It's just that one blot is the Arsenal game, but he's got a chance to put that right in a couple of weeks.
And actually, if you look at that Arsenal game, and I'm sort of looking to sort of this time next week, but they should have confidence, especially if, I mean, obviously it all depends on what happens against Napoli and West Ham, but given the way Arsenal are playing, actually.
Yeah. They're a little bit off Arsenal.
Yeah, a little bit. They're not the formidable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think it's about him anymore. I look at him and I think you go in, coach this team as best you can, make common sense decisions, in-game management, team selections, and do the media side really well, and you just get on with your job. But I think for Chelsea fans now, I don't think it's a case of putting the light on him. It's a case of whatever we do this season, what does the transfer window look like? What does the squad building look like? What does the ambition look like to kick on with the ownership, with the directors? They're the people that will have the light on them, because I don't think you can keep chopping and changing managers, which we've done under the ownership over the last few years, and then continue to keep shining that light on the same inexperienced, young, up-and-coming potential manager and expect the world, expect prime Jose Mourinho, prime Conte. The light has got to be on the people making the decisions, and if he does brilliantly, then that's a great decision from them and they'll get credit for that. And if we go on to win majors, if he doesn't do well, I won't be looking at him thinking, I'll be looking at them thinking, what was the decision about? So,
He's not made any decisions yet where we look at and go, what's he doing there? I can't quite... None of that's happened yet.
Putting Levi Colwill at left back.
That was a tough one. That was a tough one.
We've not seen those kind of decisions.
No.
And do you know what? From the evidence that is in front of us right now suggests that we're not going to see those weird kind of... What's happened there? Why is that? That does not happen. So, watch your space.
Have you had experience, Joseph, working under young managers?
No. I mean, I manage. No. I mean, young coaches, but not young managers really. Yeah, I've largely worked under hugely experienced coaches and managers. Yeah.
Because I just wonder what it's like for the players when they are working with someone.
Well, look, the football's changed.
Yeah.
We are going down in a different route. Those managers where we used to see the Ancelottis and the Joses, look at where Arsenal have gone with Arteta. Look, Xabi Alonso's been given a chance. I think we are seeing that younger route now, as opposed to the old steady pair of hands. I think we are looking at a much younger the landscape for managers and coaches.
Obviously, football's become more of a business in the last 20 years than it was the 20 years before that. But I think the players are a lot maybe softer than the previous generations as well. So the younger managers maybe can relate to them a bit more because they're closer to their generation. They maybe know how to handle them better. Whereas when you get the older coaches, like the Contes, who are really ferocious, really...
Throwing cups of tea around. Kind of stereotypical type manager.
Yeah, I saw a Diego Costa interview came out and he was talking about Conte and whatnot. And
Did you see what he said?
Yeah, I saw what he said. I'm thinking, Conte with this group of players, as much as he's a serial winner and he, racks up leagues, with this group of players, very young, doesn't really mesh, doesn't really work.
No,
so you've got to get that.
I don't know who wouldn't last 5 seconds, but it's either the players or Antonio Conte. Coming up against him on Wednesday.
Yes,
I like the storylines there of Napoli and Chelsea, so that'll be a really good game. One thing that I think Liam has stuck with, and I think... Do you think that Enzo Fernandez in the 10, and whilst Cole Palmer is injured, obviously, and João Pedro up top, is the sort of partnership that Liam prefers, would you say?
It looks like it. Liam Delap has had his own injury problems, and it looks as though he's struggling to gain, you need back-to-back games starting, and that looks like it's not going to quite happen for it. It's quite truncated for him, might get the odd start here. At the moment, João Pedro looks to be our best number 9. He's not a number 9. You looked at what Mateta did for them. There was a bit of hold-up play in the early part of the first half. And you think that physical presence that he's got, that's not João Pedro's game. João Pedro's a link-up player. Yes. Very... But Liam Delap does give you that slightly more physical presence and that willing runner. So I think it might be horses of courses. When you play teams in perhaps in a low block, where's Liam running to?
Yeah, nowhere.
Where's the space? The West Ham game... I don't think it's going to offer that for him. So I think there will be horses for courses. And there's going to be games like we play in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
I think that's where Liam's probably going to get his first... I'll say his first start, but I expect him to start in that game.
Yeah, João Pedro has more goal involvements than any other Premier League summer signing. So 11 goal involvements in the Premier League, and he's got 11 goals all competitions. Are you happy with his first 6 months at Chelsea, Matisse? I'll take that as a no.
I'm not unhappy, but I'm not happy because I have high expectations from him in terms of I think what he's capable of is really, really strong numbers. You look at the finishing in the Club World Cup, you look at the finish against Brentford, I believe, you look at the finish, even though the left foot there, weaker foot cutting in, he's capable of more. He's capable. Sometimes goal involvements, it clouds it because it's goals and assists. And from a number 9, like you said, I'm looking for goals.
But he's not. But we have to remember he's probably not a.
He might not be. And we spoke about before Cole Palmer. He said he'd prefer to play with him in the 10, and then he feels more like a 9. And he said at the start of the season, you know, Chelsea pay me to score goals. I like that attitude. Chelsea need a 20-goal season striker up front.
If Cole Palmer's not providing that, is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Especially. So I think that's got to be the goal for him, and I don't want to almost mollycoddle him and say, oh yeah, well you can just get your 11, 12 goals or even 15. Jackson got 15 in his first season. Tammy Abraham got 15. I need more. I need more. So he's got to be consistent, but we also need to create more chances for our striker. There's been games where Delap's been playing, he's not had a shot, you know, or he's had 2 that's been blocked and that's it. João Pedro, you know, he's had one chance taken it. We need to see this team creating chances for their striker where we're seeing 3, 4, 5 shots per game for the striker. So then we can really, you know, praise or criticise the conversion rate. But I don't think he gets enough shots, and sometimes that's on him. He's got to be more, you know, willing to shoot and not take that extra touch. Sometimes as a team, they need to create more for him as well.
I felt sorry for Liam Delap against Paphos because the way they set up, it was stop the ball going into his feet. And he had very little touches of the ball. The game actually opened up when we got the goal. Yeah. Paphos then have to come out, and then João Pedro comes on, and he's afforded a bit more space. So you sometimes the scoreline or the way the game is going, you can either benefit from it, as João Pedro did, or Delap. I felt that he. Bit sorry for him, the fact that the game was a 5-4-1.
But then it does make you think that, like, probably the game isn't made for a Liam Delap profile of striker.
That's what I mean, to be honest, of course. Yeah, so, like, some games will you look at it, the way Paphos set up, you're looking for those little balls into feet, bounce past and get the ball wide. I don't think we got ball wide enough against Paphos. At all.
So when I look at the Napoli game, the fact that Napoli are currently out of the even the playoffs at the moment, so they actually need to win, which actually could play into Chelsea's hands, but does that then mean a player like Liam Delap, maybe it might be suited for the way he plays and running in behind, because there might be a little bit more space?
Look, I'm telling you the way Napoli will not play like Paphos.
No,
There's absolutely no way.
They need to come at us.
And I think that there are teams that we better suited for us to play against, teams that will give us a bit more space. Yeah. We struggle historically. That 5-4-1, or actually sometimes Paphos were playing 5-5. Yeah. It was ridiculous to look at the 2 white walls. And it's I don't care how good you are, if you come up against an organised defence like that, sometimes it's a 6 at the back. It's hard. There's no space in which to operate. And we historically struggle with that. Napoli will not do that.
The one thing I'd add to this, where I think João Pedro has a massive advantage over Delap, is João Pedro is able to go into central midfield. We saw him working really hard to get back into position when Enzo were further up the pitch in the previous league game. And he'll get back into that midfield and he'll compete physically or technically, and he'll link things up. And even if you are playing on the counter-attack, sometimes you do need a striker who's just going to get the ball and take a few touches and then release a Neto, release a Garnacho, release an Estevao like he does for the moment they created. Because with Delap, we don't want the ball bouncing off you. We don't want the ball to go up to you and then it can't stick and then we're back under pressure. When you're away from home in the Champions League, you need to relieve pressure and you need to have moments and spells where you have a bit of possession and give your defence a bit of a break. So even though we're mentally thinking there'll be space and there'll be chances to counter, who's gonna almost facilitate those counters and who's gonna make sure that the technical side is, you know, sturdy so those counters actually last and they don't fizzle out and break.
Yeah. I think one thing is probably for sure that, you know, if Cole Palmer is playing, you're probably going to get better out of Liam Delap and João Pedro. He's only played 13 matches this season. Now, I actually spoke to Liam Rosenior before the Paphos game, asked where Cole Palmer was because he wasn't in the squad. He said he's OK, it's precautionary, felt something in his thigh, he'll be available for Crystal Palace. Get to the Crystal Palace game, they asked where he is. Same answer given. How worried are we, Jace, with this Cole Palmer thigh issue that he's got?
Well, I think we have to be concerned the fact that his season really hasn't got going. He's played a handful of games.
Hasn't even started.
Club World Cup. Maybe it was inevitable that players were going to pick up little niggles. He has been out for long periods. Hasn't really played back-to-back games that I can remember. Yeah, it's obviously a concern because he is our best creative player when fit, and you want your best players in the biggest games. And if he doesn't play against Napoli, when does he return? There is a concern, and not just domestically for him, but on a personal level for him. He will have the World Cup on his mind. So it is, you know, that is one of the most fiercely competitive areas in the pitch, that number 10 or that area in behind the front. whether it be on the right. But yeah, I'm just fingers crossed he can get himself fit and back-to-back games, or certainly available for selection at the moment. For not to be available for selection in the last 2 squads, it's obviously a concern.
I worry because I don't know if it's a surgery thing that he needs. Does he really need to go on a proper break and say, I'm actually injured verbatim, and then come back after? But then you would probably miss the World Cup. Yeah. You look at the players vying for that 10, Eze's not in form, he's not playing. Foden is really inconsistent and drops out of form.
Palmer, really Morgan Rogers.
Morgan Rogers is the only one really in any good form. Cole Palmer's certainly not in good form. I agree with the manager. If he's not at 100%, there's no point in playing him. We don't want to see a half, kind of baked Cole Palmer come onto the pitch where he's not really influencing the game. He's open to them more criticism, more question marks over performance. If you're not there, take a step out, and we just have to deal with the consequences. And the market is still open, so address it if that's the case.
Obviously, there were reports coming out earlier this week that he's a little bit homesick. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that he wants to go back to Manchester right this second, especially given he's on such a long contract. He's basically one of the players at Chelsea, along with Moises Caicedo, along with Enzo Fernandez, that's untouchable unless they're going to come in with probably a British record fee higher than what Liverpool paid for Alexander Isak, that sort of money. I can't see that happening anytime soon, especially because Man United are where they are with the attacking players they bought and with Bruno Fernandes in that sort of position at the moment. If Chelsea don't get Champions League, though, could we be looking at a situation where Cole Palmer could potentially leave this football club?
I think so. Yeah, I think that the best players want to play in the biggest competitions, and that, I don't blame them. Not just Cole Palmer. There's plenty across that squad that feel they should be. I mean, Reece James has won it. He does not want to be playing in inferior competition. So top 4, top 5, for me, is of paramount importance. Obviously, we want a trophy on the way. Of course we do. But yes, there is always going to be a concern that if you can't offer players regular Champions League football, that they will start to consider what their options. And that doesn't just have Chelsea. Right across the board, Liverpool may be looking to miss out.
Why do I feel like it's different for Liverpool? I don't know why. I just feel like we're the only club that if we miss out on Champions League, players will look to go elsewhere. I don't know why, though.
Yeah, they're all the same. You go right across. Yeah. Newcastle will be looking. There's players in that squad that will feel they're good enough for Champions League football.
I think with Liverpool, because they just won the title, and obviously the really rare circumstances, heartbreaking circumstances there, I think maybe some of their players would understand the situation as to why they maybe dropped off this season. There isn't really that excuse for us in terms of we should be going up in an upward trajectory. We've got a young team. Talented players are there, and more talented players should be coming in. If you're not going on an upward trajectory, you've got to ask the questions as to why. And I think with us, absolutely Champions League football is critical, but also being in title races is critical. Yeah. If we don't take that next step up in the next season too, Cole Palmer should still have the same question as to why are we not in a title race. Reece James, same question, why are we not in a title race, minimum, and I want to win the Premier League.
Does Cole Palmer need to, obviously Reece James is the levels that he has been playing at this season so consistently, wherever you put him has been unbelievable, but I mean, before Cole Palmer even thinks about moving anywhere, he's surely got to think about getting back to the Cole Palmer that he was in that first season under Mauricio Pochettino, because that is the best version of Cole Palmer anyone has ever seen.
Yep, and on a personal level for him, that's the most important thing now. Get yourself back fit. Get yourself playing regularly, get those performances up to the level where we saw where he was one of the best midfielders in European football at that particular time. So, look, fingers crossed for him, because I've had injuries myself. It can ruin a whole season. And let's fingers crossed it doesn't happen for him. But it's looking a little worrying for him, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Raul, in that Manchester United-Arsenal game at the Emirates, the goals that Manchester United scored meant that Chelsea's record of 15 goals conceded in one Premier League season stays intact. So let's just take a quick look at how John Terry celebrated that.
January the 25th, 2026, and the record is safe. Man United 2, Arsenal 1. Still 25 minutes to go, but the record is safe for another season. So Peter Cech, Paulo Ferreira, Ricky Carvalho, William Gallas. It's time to celebrate with a bottle or a glass of red wine. I'm going for the bottle. Full celebration tonight. But guys, let me know your thoughts. Can this record of 15 goals conceded in one season ever be beaten? I'm saying no. I have to say I was a little bit worried the way Arsenal started the season and how well they started. But it's only January and the record has already gone. And it's safe for another year.
Oh, we love that, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bit of JT, bit of getting the fans going. No one seems to. He seems to rattle everyone with stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a point early in the season where Arsenal looked like that. They could really threaten that record. They were so stingy at the back, and it looked like, wow, this is going to put this Chelsea record under real pressure. Look, we're still in January. You know, and January, and the record can't be broken. So it just goes to show we might never see in our lifetime that get beaten. And there is, JT must have, he will have a huge amount of pride 100%. In being part of the tightest, best defence the Premier League's ever seen.
Yeah.
Now you can't argue with that.
No.
You cannot argue. I stuck it in our group as soon as they
The
conceded.
record's still intact.
Intact.
Because I remember there was a time on the show and we were a little bit like, let's give it a little bit, because they conceded 3 in like the first 15 games or something stupid like that.
Listen, they're a very, very defensive. They're a very good side. Things have changed a little bit recently. So look, it's a record that John Terry must be, and he is incredibly, and I'm proud of it. The fact that it belongs to my club.
I think the fact that I think we broke so many records at that time, Jose's seasons especially, of I think we scored the most goals, or maybe that was under Ancelotti, or goals conceded, or the most points. But they've all since been broken by Manchester City.
Record as well.
Yeah, the unbeaten home record as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, John Terry then posted on his story the goals that we did concede that season, the 15 of them. 9 of them came from open play. 9 goals in 38 games came from open play. There's an own goal in there as well. Nicholas and Elka, that goal that meant we didn't go unbeaten that season, so we could have gone invincible as well. That record will never be beaten, will it, Matisse?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I genuinely don't think so. I think that record is truly ridiculous. I think it's just as hard to do as the Invincibles that obviously Arsenal do talk about, and rightly so. But for us, that record there, 15 goals conceded over 38 games. Not only do you need to be a little bit lucky with injuries, and you don't want to rotate your back line, you don't want to see, backup goalkeepers or backup fullbacks coming into it, but we're talking about legendary defenders and a legendary goalkeeper. The height of concentration constantly and racking up clean sheets for fun, to the point where, like we said, when we took the lead and went 1-0 up, that was game done and over. For me, that won't be broken. And
also, just going back to the weekend, and I'm on it again, but the desire that JT kind of typified of not to concede. He'd throw himself in things. He'd put his head in a cement mixer if it meant keeping a clean sheet. Yeah. And that was why I was a little disappointed the weekend that we conceded a little bit of a meh goal. Under that stewardship with JT, those sort of goals didn't happen.
Yeah.
If you scored either a bit of good fortune, set piece, or you deserved it, the weekend just a bit. Anyway.
JT would put his head in a cement mix. That just sums up
just to
JT.
Keep a clean sheet.
He absolutely would have. He put his head in places down there. You remember that diving header for England? No arm,
cup final as well.
Yeah, I don't think that record of 15 goals in a Premier League season will ever be beaten. Obviously, we are in January, so the January transfer window is still open. I don't think we ever thought that Chelsea would do a lot of business in January. One thing we have done, obviously, let Buonanotte go back to Brighton, and then he's gone back on loan. Obviously, we have recalled Anselmino from Dortmund. Now, obviously, a defender was something that Maresca wanted in the summer, didn't get. A defender is still on the radar. Clearly, Jeremy Jacquet was linked. The fact that we've brought Anselmino back, is that maybe just means we're not going to go for Jeremy Jacquet this season? Because why would we have brought him back on loan from Dortmund?
It certainly points to that direction, doesn't it? I mean, we do like buying young centre-backs, don't we? We've got a huge collection at the football club.
We've got the same profile player.
Yeah, and that there is... Yeah, look, if we don't get Jacquet, it looks like that's the reason he's been brought back off loan. We still have had, the fact that Colwell is still out, it's been a terrible injury for him. I don't know how far away he is, but it does...
I don't think he'll play again this season.
No, I get the sense his World Cup dream is over. But,
who
knows? That we may well be... There might be some movement, players going out. That's more than possible in this transfer window.
I think because he's struggled with injuries at Dortmund, when he's played, he's been very good for them.
Yeah.
I don't think he's being recalled back because Dortmund don't rate him or they don't want to use him.
It was definitely Chelsea's choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And because he's been plagued with injuries, maybe it's a fact of we want him now under our own supervision in terms of medically, because they don't want to ruin this talent, because he is a talent. So maybe you might see him stay at Chelsea for the next 6 months. And I'm not expecting necessarily that he's even going to play loads because he's got to get over those injury issues first. We've already got players with injury issues here. But it's another ball-playing, right-footed young centre-back, along with Mamadou Sarr, who's at Strasbourg, and they keep saying that Acheampong is untouchable. As much as Xhaka may be a big talent, it doesn't feel like the side that we need to attend to. It feels like a left footer, if anything. Especially with judging by Badiashil's ropey performance in the first half, I felt, and also the fact that he's also struggled with injuries. Colwell's been out for a year. You don't know how he's going to come back from that. You've got to give him time. Feels like a left footer is almost becoming more of a priority. If Hato's not a centre-back, he plays left-back a lot. I'm confused with the right-footed centre-back, young 20-year-old kind of interest. When people say experience, they think, oh, it has to be like a 28-year-old or 30-year-old. You can have experience and be a 24-year-old, 23-year-old, but you need to have the quality. We've got experienced players that don't have enough quality. We have experienced players that we don't want to start games. We don't want them to feature heavily in the team. They're squad players. It'd be a toss-in potentially. Neto, the form is up and down. He's experienced. He's 25. Badiashil, these guys are actually of age, but they're just not good enough in terms of consistency. So is Jacket going to come in here, regardless of how talented, as a 20-year-old with about 40, maybe sub-40 top-flight appearances, and come in here and be consistent in a back line that is very disjointed in terms of pairing at centre-back, doesn't have that figure next to him that's reliable, that's consistent, that plays week in, week out. Fofana has to be rotated. Badiashil's inconsistent. Chalobah's not best on that left-footed side. That is not the partner that a 20-year-old needs coming into their debut first 6 months in the Premier League.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Chelsea do in terms of these centre-backs and the situations they've got going on. Not long to go until the deadline as well. But coming up this week, a couple of really big games. I suppose, like we say, every game's a big game now, but Napoli away. I'm sad I'm not out in Naples. I'm really sad. But it's a game that's also just got storylines. It's a game that Chelsea need to win if they want top 8. It's a game that Napoli need to win if they want to even finish in the qualification spots. It's Antonio Conte. It's Kevin De Bruyne. It just feels like there's stories everywhere.
There are, and despite their league form over the last 18 months, this is a side that has really floundered in the Champions League, and I can't quite believe that they are currently sitting. They're getting relegated. They're not going through the knockout stages. Yeah. I expect this to be an open game. I expect there to be goals. I would naturally, obviously, rather be the side that where we are at the moment. We could still win this and not get through. Yeah, that's the reality of it. There are teams on the same amount of points. Goal difference is where we are right now, but it's so tight. I
feel like we really missed an opportunity against Paphos.
Yeah, we did.
And I know we took it against Ajax, scoring 5, but I just felt like watching that game, I was thinking, right, this is our second to last game, Paphos at home. And I know the keeper had a worldie. It wasn't like we didn't create any chances.
We had chances.
We had chances, but I just felt like could have scored 4 or 5, realistically. And it actually, that put us in such a better position going into this last game.
There have been other games, though, over the course of this.
Benfica.
There have been some games where I do feel that if we don't get through, it's not going to be because we only scored 1 against Paphos.
It's the Carabags and the Atalantas.
Yeah, they're the ones where we let ourselves down quite badly. Yeah. But look, we'll see. We're in the box seat right now. Yeah. It's in our own hands.
Yeah.
It's a tough old place to go, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think all those teams above, they won't all win, I'm sure. I'm sure they'll...
I think there's a couple that are playing each other as well. So I think if we win...
We should be fine.
It should be enough.
We'd be incredibly unlucky to win and still not go through. That would have been a lot of results.
16 points, that's what we'll... 13.
Yeah, the same amount of points you needed last year to be in the top 8 as well. So
if we don't want those 2 games. Those added 2 games.
We don't. But I did see somewhere that if we finish in that top 8 and we finish towards the bottom of it...
It makes it harder.
It makes it harder in terms of the side of the draw we're on.
Yeah.
So
let's just get through.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be honest.
There's people doing deep dives and linking things together, Jace. You don't want to see it.
Let's wait and see what happens.
OK, so before our next recording, it's Napoli away, West Ham at home. Those 2 games, Jace, how do you go?
I can see us winning both.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can see us winning both.
Yeah.
We're in a good run of form at the moment, scoring lots of goals. The West Ham game will be a tough one because, you can sometimes catch a team at the wrong time. And Arsenal caught Man United at the wrong time over the weekend. We caught Crystal Palace at the right time. I just wonder whether this West Ham side, bit of confidence, back-to-back games, first time in ages. So I'll have us to win both, though. Tight in both, but win both.
Matisse?
Yeah, I've got wins for both. I think Napoli away they kind of play into our hands a bit with the fact that they're so desperate for the win. Conte's not great in Europe as well. He never really had a great record in Europe, so I think we've got the quality there. And West Ham at home, we have to back ourselves there.
It says a lot that we actually probably would fancy ourselves more against Napoli away than we would against West Ham at home. But I think we're all going for 6 points, and hopefully we get them. That is it for another episode of Inside Chelsea. We'll be back next Monday, hopefully, to talk about 2 wins in those 2 huge games. Thank you so much for your company. Of course, thank you to these 2 as well, Jason and Matisse. We will see you next week. Up the Chelsea.